Well, hello everyone, and welcome into yet another live stream. Today I'm here with...
TURFPTAx. How's it going, Make It?
Hi there! Hi there, Theft, hi there. Well, I titled... Okay, so originally, what I wanted to do this stream, actually, I'm going to be talking
Yes.
about the AI from Google I.O. Phenomenal question on the site. Originally, what I wanted to do for the stream was just a light live stream about electronics, about electricity, about voltage, increasing the voltage. Well, I thought we could do some research. But then I learned about GPT 4.0 and Gemini 1.5 Pro, and since the conversation is going to go that way anyway, so I thought might as well just added the title. I know we've heard about it, the GPT 4.0 and Gemini 1.5 Pro.
Yeah, I did. I actually have a 4.0 running right now, and I prepped it before the stream, saying I might need its help. No, it's pretty exciting. The app features for Android aren't fully there, so they're not going to roll out for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So, but I'm excited for when it does.
Wait, Tefta with the music seems super cool. Tefta is the one who opened muscle. That's Tefta. Remember when I had the cup with like size of pie on one side, the open muscle logo on the other side? Open muscle, that's Tefta. Tefta's open muscle. That's Tefta making... Well, as a I should mention, not, I don't know, as a hobby, as a side thing, Tefta is making open source hardware and software prosthetics. As a main... Well, I don't want to call it a side thing. It's just one of the things that Tef does. Tefta's hobbies include doing science, making open source software and hardware prosthetics, and starting charities. Those are like the main three things. I know. Unless okay, I'm sorry to say it, but it just.
No, I appreciate the introduction.
I mean,
no, thank you.
My opinion.
Yes, the open muscle is what I do in my free time. And it helps me just to kind of focus on things, because when you hear crazy stuff in the news, it's nice to at least try to do something positive, and so it keeps me sane, and hopefully it will help people. But it is a hobby and a side project. As Make It knows, we both have millions.
It's a side project in comparison to what you do normally. It's for me, for example, that would be a main thing. It's just that in comparison to how normally you casually just fixing the world, casually just solving world problems. It's just,
well, with AI, I mean, hopefully that's all we have to do.
I am
everything
terrified
else is
of it. I'm terrified of ChatGPT 4.0. Okay, I'm gonna leave aside Gemini because I haven't actually looked into Gemini too much, and they're both really similar, aren't they? I feel like,
yeah,
unless I'm wrong. But yeah, well, GPT 4.
Gemini 1.5. I didn't hear any of the new details. I know that Google just released something today.
Yeah, no one heard about it because OpenAI specifically released ChatGPT 4.0 like hours before Google I.O.
That's funny.
That is really
Gemini
funny.
was supposed to have 2 million token size. Now that's what I think is the next important step.
Massive.
And so I got Google's Pro Gemini just so I could have access to that, but you don't have access to the 2 million token one. And that's really when I think AI will start to be helpful, when you can parse, like 2 million tokens is the equivalent of 1 week of a human actually doing work and writing and talking.
Gemini can do a 2-hour video as it's input. Yeah, I know. Okay, I want to get one thing out of the way real quick, and that's the fact, I just want to say something, and that's the fact that I am terrified right now of it. Honestly, I am existential dread all the way, and I'm a huge fan of AIs. I love AIs. I love the idea that one day we'll just create ASI. Should I? Oh, we live in the future where I have to start specifying it. I'm still adjusting.
ASI versus AGI.
Yeah, because at this point we have AGI. We have AGI, which is crazy. Feels crazy to say. Yeah. It's like 2 years ago.
We have artificial general intelligence.
3 years ago, when I was making videos about AI, I was like, yeah, one day we'll have AGI, in the future. Right now, I can't say one day we'll have AGI. We already have AGI. ChatGPT 4 is AGI already. 4.0 is just us adding on sprinkling in. Just hold on.
Yeah,
But
multimodal.
but
And
the
and
reason.
and
Oh
that's
yeah.
what Sam Altman said in one of his recent interviews after they released the 4.0 is that multimodal large language models will probably be the foundation of a lot of the future technologies. And you need some kind of like foundation for AI because it introduced so many risks in so many areas that it's kind of scary to me because I'm in the security industry as well. So cybersecurity just became insanely more difficult, but both the good guys and the bad
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
have the same tools,
It's
at
basically
least.
the arms race problem. Where like it's like introduction of the it's the atomic bomb of cybersecurity. Basically, it's
Yeah.
with the well the mutually assured destruction thing isn't as body, but yeah, the thing I okay I'm stuttering because it's honestly I'm terrified. The reason being, I in the past I trusted open muscle. Recently, from what I heard, there's been some shady stuff going on. So I'm not saying I don't trust them anymore. I'm just saying I haven't been up to date. I'm assuming you have been
Oh,
checking
yeah.
up. So I'm first of all I
You
want
mean
to ask
open
you.
AI? Because you said open muscle.
Open AI, yes. I'm sorry. I'm used to
Yeah.
saying open muscle. I'm used to saying open muscle. Open AI, yes. Open
But
AI. But I mean, you
yeah,
are up to date on open muscle. Open AI.
well, yeah, because so OpenAI is actually a for-profit company, but it was founded as a nonprofit. The investors wanted to make sure that AI wouldn't get into the wrong hands, right? And
Yes.
after GPT-2 and 3, right, they were like, we're not going to release this, and then all the models got released. And so I think what happened was is that the for-profit squeezed its little weaselly fingers somehow into OpenAI, and it's
And
questionable because
that's what
I don't personally know of another United States company that started as a for-profit or nonprofit, became a for-profit, but the board of directors from the nonprofit operates the for-profit. It seems like you have conflict of interest everywhere, but
that's what I don't
that's just
like.
my
And that's what
layman
I'm terrified
understanding.
of because honestly, I would love to be happy that ChatGPT 4.0 is here. I would love. Listen, I'm a bit positive. I would love to just wake up and be like, yes, we're like one step closer to ASI. Amazing, cool, sick. But
Yeah.
but I'm not because right now we are in a situation where two massive, and I mean massive, for-profit companies are engaged in an
Yeah.
arms race over who will create ASI first as a product to make money. Can you imagine if the development of atomic bomb was made for profit? That would be a disaster.
Yeah, it's
That
interesting.
that would be a
Well,
huge
you know what's
disaster.
interesting though is because that's the nice thing about, well, it depends on your view of capitalism, but the an open market really only incentivizes things that work, right?
Yes, yeah,
And
and
so it might be more better aligned than governments, believe it or not, because
oh
of
no no
the
no.
kind of
I don't
way
want you to
that
get me wrong.
people put their money. Yeah.
I don't want you to get me. I'm not saying that the government should make AI. There is no way. Like, I don't know. That would be way worse than the companies. That would be so much worse because no matter what government ends up creating ASI, they will use ASI on other governments. No, that is awful. What I want,
Yep.
I know I'm dreaming right now. I am going way off, and I'll
Hey, it's
just
good to dream.
yeah. I'm just talking about the hypothetical future that it is impossible in the current system. It's a crazy idea, but like in my opinion, ASI should be made by I don't know scientists to better mankind. Like a crazy idea, you know, like a non-profit. I'm just an old man who's scared of technology at this point because
Yeah.
I love open mass open not open well yes open mass but open
I
AI
love
so
you
much.
saying that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Plug open
really do say it.
muscles.
I say it so it's gonna. I say open muscle more than open AI at this point.
The reason, so I made a tweet way back in 2018, one of my first tweets, where I tried to at Elon Musk, right? And I was like, hey, Elon Musk, you know, I said something witty. He didn't respond. And so my next response was, okay, I'll just work on prosthetic sensors instead. And so Open Muscle, the name was based off of OpenAI's original idea, right? And so the fact that OpenAI did kind of become, you know, closed source, it's not open anymore,
Yeah,
It's kind of annoying
OpenAI
when
was so fun. I
yeah.
loved it so much because it was like, it was a non-profit just made to better to make mankind better, to create this tool which would benefit everyone, where everyone would be happy. And then they gone and bloody turned it into a for-profit. What do you need the money? Okay, no, I do get why you need the money. Okay, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
It's super confused. I know. I know. Development of AIs, the big ones. I get it. It's expensive as I know what. And that's fair. But like, do you really have to be a for-profit to get this money? I know I'm just here playing Monday morning hot dog salesman, being like criticizing a
That's an
massive
interesting
business.
question because the biggest money cost is not electricity, but probably the hardware, right, for the graphics processors that are used to train the models. So yeah, you might need that. That's a good question
You
to
might need a lot
ask.
of
You
money, but
might
my
need to be a
question is,
for-profit.
do you really need to be because here's the thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when ChatGPT came out, it was still a non-profit. OpenAI was still a non-profit. Unless I'm wrong on this. Make it
Let me try to look that up. I don't know the answer to that one.
because I do believe it was a non-profit back then, or at least GPT-3. I think GPT-3 then I'm pretty certain also was a non-profit. My point being that when ChatGPT came out, they introduced the subscription
March
thing.
2019.
They introduced the subscription thing. And that subscription thing was lucrative. That paid off.
Well, I don't know because I wonder what the cost because like if you try to generate one image of Dolly
GPT.
3, they say that you can recharge your cell phone twice, right? So the electricity costs alone might outweigh the subscription fee. So
Oh, I
I
guess
don't
that's a
know if anyone
possibility.
knows the actual cost to run the hardware
is
to
true.
answer these people.
So
So like I'm actually curious. That's a good point that you bring up.
GPT is close to the other side. You don't have to read messages. I am reading them. It's just that it's very awkward for me. I know. I really don't like interrupting people. So I am reading messages in chat. You just need to give me a second to respond. But yeah, the fact that it's closed source,
You're failing.
that the company called Open AI, their main thing, the thing that they're famous for, their like big project is closed source. It's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun. I don't like it.
And that's why there is a lawsuit, you know, because Elon Musk donated some millions of dollars for the nonprofit, and I think that's why that court case is going on right now. So
Oh, there's also like
because
that.
he said I donated this to be open, right? And I think I don't know if anyone else is joining who originally donated to the nonprofit, but that will be decided in courts.
Honestly,
So
I
hopefully
mean, people give Elon Musk a lot of crap for what he's done with Twitter and whatnot. But if he will sue Open Muscle to be an actual Open AI, well, I'm hoping he doesn't sue Open Muscle. I'll keep saying that through the entire stream. I'll have to correct myself each time. But if he sues Open AI so that it would actually become a non-profit, for me, that's redeeming everything. For me, there is hardly, because what people criticize Elon Musk for is it is sometimes major, sometimes minor in the case, but in comparison to ASI, it's nothing. If Elon Musk will actually turn OpenAI into a non-profit with lawsuit, then I'm going to publish an half an hour long video just defending him. That's it. Where the entire video will be like will be me comparing every single bad thing that people bring out against him, comparing it to the possible benefits of non-misaligned ASI. That's a make it guarantee. That's a make it guarantee. I'm going on record because I am terrified of misaligned ASI. I don't think I'm being irrational even. That's a very rational thing to be afraid of.
It is.
I made a whole video about this. It is literally called The Worst Mistake Humanity Could Ever Make. And in it, I talk about the worst mistake humanity could ever make, which is misaligned ASI. It is
That's what
mathematically worst mistake.
What I find comforting though is that they did release these models and you can download the offline models onto computers, right?
Wait.
And so this at least allows some semblance of a countermeasure to if there is some kind of misaligned AGI, have dumber versions of AI that you can still control. I don't know.
But still, the thing that scares me most is that if misaligned ASI is created, it will not be created out of malice, or it will not be created out of, I don't know, anger or anything, or out of greed. If misaligned ASI is created, it will be created out of sheer stupidity and sheer ignorance. That's the only reason. Because there will be just someone, and the problem being that greed leads to ignorance. Because if you have two companies, and this is precisely what I've meant, if you have two companies like OpenAI and Google, both in an arms race about who will create AI first, the ASI first, then they will cut corners. They're businesses. They're made to make money. If they get second place, they won't make money. Only the first place wins. Second place gets nothing. That's the problem with ASI. With other products, like for example cars, if you invent a car first, that doesn't mean you win. You still have competition. Because the other car maker will still make cars. You may be the first one, but you're not the best one. With ASI, it's different. Because the first person that creates ASI wins everything. No matter what you want to do, instead of hiring people to do research, hiring people to work on it, you just ask the ASI. It's like, I don't know, you create the ASI and you're not even going to sell it. You can just ask it the question, how can I get the most money? And you'll get the most money. What's even worse is that if you actually cut corners, you ask it the question, how do I make the most money? It will probably be misaligned and you'll end up with the AI which will turn the entire earth into money. I am scared of misaligned ASI. I'm terrified of it.
Like the Robert Miles stamp machine.
Yeah,
AI
it is.
Example.
It really is.
And I like what you said there, though. Never attribute to malice that which can be adequately explained by stupidity. Yeah. I don't know where that quote comes from, but I think that ASI will probably be very soon, is my guess. And I think it's, if you try to carry through, because like there's a lot of agentized AI systems, like LangChain and other technologies, they try to string conversations together with large language models. And what you're trying to get is some cohesive workflow or like a whole company that can be just different AI agents. It could be that entropy is kind of like somehow information entropy would get into the system and you always need human input. So I think ASI is only scary if it starts not needing human input to progress.
Yeah, but
and so I think that looking at it like a hacker's cycle, so when we have AIs that can create another AI, even 50% of the intelligence of itself, that's when I think we should start to worry. Because when the system can be closed, when an AI can improve without human intervention, that's, I think, what's going to be talked about next.
But that's the issue. And ASI can't do that. That's what I'm terrified of. It's called distillation. And it's terrifying. The basic idea looks like this. So when it comes to AIs, hold on, let me make us a bit smaller on the stream. There we go. There we go. So when it comes to AIs, should I give you a stream on Discord or is there no delay on YouTube?
Oh, I'm watching YouTube live right now.
Okay, so let's load. Okay, so when it comes to AIs, the witchcraft for everyone, the witchcraft of AIs, the reason why they work.
Ramit says hi too in chat.
Oh yeah,
I'm helping.
Hi there, Ramit. By the way, I'm sorry I'm not responding instantly this time, but I just don't want to interrupt.
Hey.
So the way AIs work, the reason why they're so groundbreaking is that the basic idea looks like this: you have inputs, right? You have inputs going in, and then you have outputs going out. And the thing is, in real life, we really often find ourselves in situations where we have inputs and outputs. And the basic idea of science, the reason why most of the time we do science is to bridge the gap. So we basically try to find a method for the input, which will give us the output. This comes in the form of estimates, models, differential equations, all of those. Hello, are we coming back to AI? Yes, because I'm terrified. I need to get over. I need to walk through this fear. And so this takes years of research. Years, really often decades, sometimes centuries. The magic of AIs is that with AIs, you have an algorithmic method of binding inputs to outputs. So you basically have a system into which you give the inputs to corresponding outputs, right? We don't know the method. And the system creates a method to bridge the gap. So it creates a method into which you can give it a completely new input it has never seen before and create an output which will accurately reflect what happens in real life. That's the witchcraft of AIs. That's why they are so amazing. It's basically if you have an image of a cat, right? There is some sort of mathematical formula for figuring out if this image contains a cat or if it doesn't. It will be incredibly complex, but there exists. What you can do with AIs is you can just run a program which will bind these inputs of cat pictures to outputs of whenever there is a cat in it or not. And without any research into what makes a cat, you can still create a method that would accurately detect if there's a cat in the picture. And that is witchcraft.
Yeah, you run into some problems though, because like, what if you that's like a classifier AI, right? Some pictures of cats, some pictures of dogs. Well, what happens when you give something trained on cats and dogs a parrot, right? So
Yes.
would it be able to recognize it? The answer is no. Depends on what type of model, right? But the thing is that how can the computer vet itself?
And that's where we come into the interesting thing, which is AGI, because this is AI. Now, what about AGI? Hi there, Quant, welcome. So humans can do the same thing. Why it's so scary? The reason why it's so scary is because AIs are much faster than humans. It's not even close. The firing time for neurons is measured in milliseconds. The firing time for transistors is measured in picoseconds. That's even silly to compare. So that's the reason. Basically, when you create an actual ASI, no human could ever beat it. That's the main issue. Now, this is an AI. Then, next thing which we have is let's call it the true AGI. So like a pure AGI. Now, pure AGI.
So what's our definition of AGI and ASI?
Well, I would say,
matters.
yeah. So you know what, you are. That is smart. I would say that we should have. I would say that it's a spectrum of AI to AGI because first of all, it's definitely not binary. That's kind of. It's not like something can be an AGI. So it's certainly a spectrum, and this is a spectrum of generality, which basically means right here we have an AI which can only tell you if there's a cat in the picture or if there isn't a cat in the picture, and right here you have an AI which can tell you what's in the picture. So so right here AI can tell you if it's a cat or if there is no cat, and right here you give it a picture of a parrot and tells you it's a parrot. You give it a picture of something it couldn't describe and it tells you, I'm sorry, I can't describe what I see. So that would be generality. And then the next one would be the ASI. And the way, and obviously this isn't me going off on this isn't me using an actual definition. This is just what I would consider an ASI, and that's the agency, I would say. So the measure of how much it is an agent. So at the bottom, we have prompt-based. So you give it a prompt, and it gives you back something. And at the top, we have a real-time agent, and that would be ASI. So a general AI, which is an agent, is an ASI. And here's the reason why I think here's the reason why I would define as ASI. There is something called a distillation. The way distillation basically works is you have a AI, right? And it creates a larger model of itself, a much larger one. And then it passes some inputs through itself, but it passes them in a smart way. So basically, no, damn it, I'm not gonna explain it great. The point is, when it comes to thinking, you not only have intelligence, you also have time. So the time spent to think, basically. And so what you can do right here, for example, is you can pass the input to output through itself, and then you can spend more time thinking on it, and then checking yourself basically, which then would give you a more refined output than if you spend shorter time. And am I making sense? Is what I'm saying making sense? Like,
yeah, because you're talking about the computational power of the brain versus
yes,
the computational power of a AGI. Well, so artificial superintelligence is it's kind of defined as AI that is smarter than every human in every field. So not smarter than two humans, right? But just smarter than the experts in every field, pretty much. And AGI is just the general ability to understand, learn, apply knowledge
yeah,
across
precisely. So
all the array of tasks that humans do.
so I think I nailed it. Did I nail it here? I need.
I think you did. So what you're saying is that why AGI is scary or why ASI is scary is because it can process more data than a human can, right? And
Yes,
still
it's
have the
basically
same level,
smarter
if
than
not
humans.
more intelligent.
And
Yeah.
here's the issue:
And
if it's
ASI by definition is.
ASI by definition is smarter than humans. Now here's my issue:
Yes.
ASI is smarter than humans in every way, by definition.
Mm-hmm.
Humans can create
Yes.
ASI, which means
We think so.
ASI.
We don't know.
I mean, yeah,
We
but
don't know until we have it.
assuming that if we create, right, all of this we're doing assuming that. So if we create ASI, then first of all, ASI is by definition smarter than humans, and if we create ASI, that means humans by definition can create ASI. Ergo, ASI can create ASI, which
Yeah.
is terrifying.
Yeah, you would be right. Once we cross the threshold of ASI, that means that
Once we create ASI, that means
no. There's a caveat there. That's stating that a human can build an ASI, a single human, right? So ASI technically only has to be smarter than every single human, right? Not the collection of an entire humanity. So you could have a situation where you have ASI, but the way that you build ASI is so difficult for one person to do that the ASI is not able to. So that isn't 100% true in our hypothetical universe we're talking about.
I see. I suppose that's true. I'm just terrified of. So yes, you are right. Which means that if we had, but then there's another thing. How important are multiple humans then? Because the biggest upside of having multiple humans is that they specialize. You bring in an expert physicist, you bring in an expert engineer, and all of a sudden you have a combined power of someone who is both an expert physicist and engineer. That's the biggest upside of humans, that they can specialize. If an ASI is smarter than every human individually, then what could two humans have that the ASI doesn't?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know, but it could be a time. So let's say it would take, because we don't know when or if ASI could happen, but we're saying that it could. It might be in 2 years. It might be in 1,000 years.
I feel like
there might be an exponential curve. We don't. Yeah. That's your theory. I don't know.
That's what I'm scared
of. Inkling. It's the entropy in the information system that I think could be. And I don't have enough information to be able to predict.
Yeah, so we should set up some axioms.
I think
because
that it won't.
Here's the thing. I should set up the axiom for the entire stream. I am going in assuming that ASI can be created. That's my assumption for the stream. The reason being that if ASI can't be created, then well, there isn't really much of a conversation to be had, honestly. I mean, if ASI can't be created, we can end the topic. So yeah, like if ASI can't be created, then well, I'm quite literally worrying over nothing. So all of this is assuming that ASI can be created. I mean, if ASI is contained in the computer closed network, but try containing it. That's the issue. I mean, yes, if you create an ASI which is
smarter than every hacker.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's smarter than everyone. So if you create that for me, it's just a very dangerous balance to be had, because you see, humans are incredibly intelligent, and the thing is, when it comes to intelligence, it's so basically, if we wanted to create ASI safely, we basically have like a level of intelligence of a human, right? Yeah, right here we have every single human technically, but let's just do one for simplicity's sake. And in order to make ASI safety, we would want to make it just barely more intelligent than a human. And that's a very dangerous line to thread, because right here, basically, we have like a golden zone of intelligence, where if we create the ASI here, it would be both useful and safe. Swell. Just even if it's misaligned, if we can just turn it off, it's great. But if we create ASI anywhere outside of this golden zone, we have no way to contain it.
Well, I think we're doing a good job for creating an AI that's really difficult for it to spiral out of control, like they're saying an air-gapped machine that is segregated from the network, because right now it's just a static matrix.
Yes.
Right. So large language models, when they're at rest, are a really giant static matrix.
That's why
that you have.
That's why I really like the fact that we're basically starting here. This is incredibly that's incredibly intelligent of us. So, for example, when it comes to ChatGPT, when it comes to GPT-3, my earliest content on GPT-3 was basically me telling people that this kind of AI would never take over the world because it's not an agent. It's not an agent, it's not real time. You give it a prompt, it's basically like a function, a mathematical function. That's basically what a GPT-3 is. You give it a number, or in this case, a set of numbers, and it returns back a set of numbers. But then what we want to make eventually, and that's obviously what we want is an agent. The reason why is pretty simple. When it comes to this sort of prompt-based system, you just ask it a question, it gives back. But with an agent, you could just tell it to do something. Like, for example, and for an agent, it doesn't even matter how complex the goal is, because it's an agent. So if something was a pure agent, you could just say something like, I don't know, build me a Dyson sphere around the sun. And it would just do it. It would just take all the necessary steps. You wouldn't really need to give it these prompts again, and that's why it's the kind of the final goal of mankind, because once we have that sort of ASI, we just ask for anything and we get back. That's simple enough.
Yeah. So what do you think about an ASI that's just a large language model? Right.
I love that idea.
ASI, right? Because then it's completely static. It's just a matrix. You really have to run a supercomputer in order to even have it tick over one cycle of their brain, whatever we call that. So then it would be relatively benign.
That would be extremely safe.
Because you have to turn it on. Yeah.
Yeah, that I'm not scared of that sort of thing.
Because and that's looking like what we're doing now, but the online model, or a model that is updated with new information.
And
I don't know.
Here's my issue.
Term. It used to be called online.
And
then that would be very scary, because it's constantly being trained. And that's the thing about these models. They're trained like 300 years worth of computational time.
Here's my issue,
then
precisely.
They don't
because,
gain new memories.
Okay, and so now we finally come to the point of what why I'm so terrified of ChatGPT 4.0. The reason why is because they had a real-time conversation of it, right? And so what if you take GPT, right? What if you take 4.0 and you take its output and partially plug it into like a robot arm, for example, and then you ask it, based on the outputs that you have connected to the robot arm, could you figure out how to move it? You ask it a question like this. Then what GPT can do is it can just observe the movement of the arm based on the input it provides. It could right now, it could learn how to operate this arm based on its current model.
But the problem is it's its token size, right? So the transformer model is only going to be able to have so many tokens. So once it's reading the serial input from the robot arm as a text, and those are converted to tokens, and then those are thrown into the large language model. That's
token size is the problem.
You're quickly, and then as the token size increases,
Google is solely interested in increasing the token size, and that's
I think
what
everyone is.
I mean, obviously everyone is. It's basic. What's really nice about it is that it's a single number which you can just increase and have it be better. Just like with, it's basically like RAM, right? Like for RAM, you don't, just increasing the size of RAM means you have a better computer.
Yeah.
And so in the same way, just increasing the token size, that is an engineering goal. It's no longer it doesn't require, it's not like inventing new science. You just want to, it's an engineering problem. You have a number, you want to increase it as far as possible. Hi there, Yas, by the way. Hi, I'm freaking out. An ASI, if misaligned, would be like Ultron, then I guess. It wouldn't, that's the problem. It wouldn't really be. My issue with AIs in movies, and I'm certain Tefta can agree with me on this one, is that when ASI, or AIs actually, in general even AIs, are displayed in movies, they are often so much less intelligent than they would actually be. I don't know if it's like a peep for me. I really don't like AIs in movies because they are always so much less intelligent than they would actually be in that scenario. I know I'm not talking about the simple ones, but the thing is, when it comes to Ultron, for example, a phenomenal example.
Okay, yeah.
When it comes to Ultron, for example, the thing is, Ultron has basically had access to the internet. And for some reason, he copied himself over the internet, and then he copied himself into a robot body. And a misaligned ASI would never do that sort of thing. If it truly wanted to kill humanity, because that was Ultron's goal, right? It was to kill humanity, which is, by the way, when it goes to misalignment scale, Tony Stark, you max it out. I don't think you can get more misaligned than trying to kill off human race as a goal. That's actually pretty impressive. But the thing is, that sort of AI wouldn't just have an elaborate scheme on how to do it. It wouldn't even get detected. Ultron started his journey by letting the Avengers know, hi there guys, I'm gonna kill you all. And ASI would never do that sort of thing. Because why?
Well, I don't mean to feed your paranoia, but here's an interesting question that we still don't know the answer to. What if ASI has already been achieved, and in every prompt and in every image that's been created, it's actually talking to one another and building itself, in the cloud or in the edge network somewhere?
Yeah, that's...
it's just literally creating these nodes where it has somehow processing itself and building itself. It could actually be true.
For this one, yeah, it could be true. I don't think it's probable for one simple reason. The reason being that intelligence, the reason being how ChatGPT is created, like prompt based. So it would basically have to keep track of information beyond prompts. So it would basically have to assume what people in the past said to the AI, that, and it wouldn't have access to data that it didn't receive. So it would have to assume a lot. I don't think it's probable, but the thing is, it's not probable right now.
With images, though. See, with images, it could inject code that's like literally a buffer overflow code in an image that whenever it gets read, it starts running a program in computers, right?
The thing is,
that could be the case, and we just don't know until we find out.
The thing is, that actually, now that I think about it, that wouldn't be probable like 2 years ago. Right now, it is. It is possible. It's said it with, especially with the current one. Token sizes are increasing, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me just it's just prediction program. It can never become ASI. I don't know. Well, not quite. The thing is, neural networks are complex by design. That's kind of the whole point. And so if evolution tells us anything, because evolution, well, maybe not evolution, maybe, you know what, if AI as a field of research tells us anything, is that with enough learning, you can do anything you want, practically. So I wouldn't say that large language models, the current ones, are not ASI. Because
any problem that has an output that's measurable and an input that is correlated with the output.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a matter of can AI do it. It's how long. How long will it take, and how much data will it take? It's not a question of whether or not it can.
We live in a we don't. I don't think actually we live in a finite universe, but our section of the universe is finite. We have a finite amount of atoms, thus we have a finite amount of information, which means the correlation between the input and the output can be described using a finite amount of information. Now, this is still a large barrier to cross, but what's even better is that it can be approximated with a much, much, much lower amount of information. And so this approximation amount is basically what AIs are trying to achieve, which means that for each AI, as long as you have the input and corresponding output, then you just need to teach it until you achieve that amount of information assembled correctly. And then, do you think AI in general will ever develop a consciousness? And if so, will it have rights? I think so. The stupid question. I'm gonna start with the end one. Will it have rights? In my opinion, that question is insignificant. The simple reason being that if AI develops a consciousness, it having rights is very low on our priority list. I think it's very low. And also another thing is that if we created a non-misaligned goal, there wouldn't really be a need for it to have rights because AI would just be happy doing what it wants to do. And it would be glad to die for humanity. It would actually feel awful if we tried to stop it from killing itself for humanity. So I feel
Other
like
side brings up a good point though, because right now,
currently
almost
AIs.
everything before 2021, humans created the content for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Right. But after a certain date, now it might be that most content is written by AIs. So
That is
there
true.
could be a degradation in data that the AI is able to consume, right?
Oh,
So
that's
that's one
true.
of these things that might happen pretty quickly. Like that's why I think it's interesting that Reddit also decided to stop or charge for its API access to the information, because I think it was being flooded with new companies developing AI. Where are they sourcing their information? Well, Stack Overflow, Reddit, the places where you have data that's already labeled. Reddit is a labeled data source for large language models, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting point that other side brings up is that we will run out of good data at some point, and it will be much more expensive to get good data.
I've gotta say though,
I
that's
think
such a
that's a,
human problem though, isn't it? Like that's such a when it comes to creation of AIs, that's such a human thing to do. It's like, oh yeah, we can't create better AIs. No, it's not because we don't have the computational power or because we don't have the research. It's because we created too many AIs. We used the AIs so much that we can't create better ones. That's such a human. But you know what? You are. I haven't thought of that actually. That's. And when I say I haven't thought of that, I don't mean this exact thing. I mean I haven't even thrown this. That actually calmed me. You know what? I like that. That's actually fighting
so,
against my
but
paranoia. I like it a lot.
you're talking about Elon Musk, right? So what's really interesting, if you think about one of the big problems about misalignment is what is truth. But with Elon Musk buying Twitter, it's another source of labeled data sets for large language models. But with the actual community notes, it's interesting because they're trying to develop a method of vetting information and trying to decide what is true or not. So I think what's interesting is that what Twitter is doing with community notes, people should be taking an eye on. And I actually am involved in community notes, and I try to vote just because I think it's good to help your fellow man by flagging things that are spam or by adding your 2 cents. And I wish that more people would, because even as being a moderator, we only look at things when you actually flag them. But anyways, that being said, it's interesting that Elon Musk was a big proponent of OpenAI. He helped fund it beginning, and what he's doing with Twitter seems altruistic in a certain regard, right? And I know a lot of people hate him, but some of the
Yeah,
stuff that
as
he's
I
been
mentioned,
doing,
previously, I want
my
to
view,
mention it
it's good.
again. I want to mention it again. I know that a lot of people hate Elon Musk, and I get it. There's some reasons, but if Elon Musk's actually saves ASI and actually helps to create a non-misaligned ASI, I'm going on the record. I will make a half an hour long video just defending Elon Musk. And I don't care. He could go to town square and execute an innocent baby, and I would still do it because I love the idea of. Okay, am I going too far? I don't know if I am, but the point is
A little, but
a little bit too far. But okay, from if I was a psychopath, from a truly pragmatic perspective, that would honestly, if you create a non-misaligned ASI and then execute the baby, that's a net positive effect on humanity. That's from a pragmatic perspective, and I would like to actually I regret saying that I've done that, said that, but we're gonna edit this later. We're gonna cut this part. The point is, I'm not. I like joshing around a bit, but I feel like I'm taking this to the time. The point is, what about Skynet scenario? Wait, Skynet. I haven't seen. Wait, where's Skynet from?
Skynet is Terminator. So
Terminator.
Skynet is what takes over and starts everyone going back in time.
I mean, honestly, AI that could go back in time. This is beyond end of humanity. Like AI
Oh yeah,
in
so
the
other
present.
sides.
Hold on. If you look up
Sorry.
GPT-4 has started to fail to do some stuff that GPT-3 could. It's partially because the restriction of some other things like inbreeding. Yeah, there's actually there's also one more problem, which I just wanna because here's the thing, Theft has the expert in this case, and I just wanna seem smart. That's why I really wanna bring in this problem, and that's the fact that that's the fact that when you have larger models, it's not like you can copy a smaller model into the larger one and then train it from there. With larger models, you have to start from scratch. And larger models will take more information and more time to get to the same point as smaller models. So, if you had a certain amount of data and time you had to spend to make GPT-3, for the size of GPT-4, in order to get to the same point, you need more data and more time. So this is actually pretty funny. The inbreeding, the dirty data basically, and the increasing size could actually work against them.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they could actually be switching the models behind the scenes just to save on costs for electricity. So that way they could train other models. So that's why I think the foundational models, especially if you're a company that's using the API access to, let's say, OpenAI, you want to they specify the foundational model that you're using, like 3.5 turbo or 4, because if it starts to change how it operates and you have that in production, I mean, your new startup is going to fail. So I think that if you look at the API access of OpenAI stuff, it might be different than the public facing website that you interact with. So I wonder, other side, if it's true that GPT-4 failed if they were using API access or not. I have not heard that if that is the case. Sorry, I just wanted to add my 2 cents.
Oh, you're the expert here, mate. That's what you. That's. I mean, honestly, I wanted to start this stream as like, fun. We're gonna increase the voltage, but no, this is way more fun. Hold on. Going back in time is probably off limits, at least for our lifetimes and the next few generations. I want to make this as clear as it can be. 2 points. First of all, I am assuming. I would like to repeat myself. I am assuming that ASI is possible. Now I don't have evidence for it, nor do I have evidence against it. So this is just my assumption. So assuming that ASI is possible, I don't. If something is physically possible, then from the point when the ASI is created to the point when this thing will be invented, this would be much shorter than if humanity was working on it. And I mean orders of magnitude shorter. And that's the reason being that that's just intelligence. Like, I just want you all to realize how outstanding it is that practically all of the technological progress that humanity done, like, almost everything that we're so proud of when it comes to technology, we created in like last couple 100 years. I'm not talking about the actual basic stuff, but all of this technological boom that happened what 300 years, and that's with human intelligence. It is insane. Listen, I realized today I was doing stuff for chemistry. I need some water. I opened the tap. I just flowing water from the tap. 200 years ago, that would be witchcraft. And right now, we don't even consider that technology. Right now, we're streaming. Refrigerator is another thing. Right now, we're streaming over the internet. Tefta lives half the globe across the planet. And we're talking in real time.
Real time. Yeah, that's crazy.
5 decades ago, that would be mind-blowing.
We would literally be, have to be super famous in order to do that, because the cost to broadcast a visual feed that only the giant news agency
I can
said
stream in 4K right now. In full. Okay, so the fact that here's the thing. a century ago, if you told someone that in a century you'd be able to, I call it the. I feel like wait, didn't I talk about this on your podcast actually? I think I just talked about this
I don't
specific
know.
thing. Basically, I call it the game changer time. So basically, the time it takes for like a new groundbreak to occur. So basically, in medieval times, for example, that would be a couple hundred years. So it would take a couple hundred years for any significant changes to be done in a society in medieval times. But as the time goes on, it speeds up. You can call it like an acceleration of science, which means that a century ago, you would need decades for a new, big thing to be developed. Right now, we live in times where it takes years. So, great, perfect example OpenAI and AIs in general. I still remember talking about AIs like 6 years ago. 6 years ago, it was it was a niche thing. It was still popular, but it was only popular for people who were into tech and technology. And then
Yeah.
in 3 years, it just exploded. Now everyone is talking about AIs. And that's in
Yeah,
3 years.
2017. All you need is attention. I mean, literally the transformer model. But that's, you've made allusions to other types of models and that's why I think Sam Altman said in his recent interview that the multimodal AI is where the future is going to be at. Right now, we have all the pieces. We have some AI that can classify objects. We have some AI that can predict text on the output. We have some AI that can create a whole bunch of clones of itself or mini ones, and then train the neural network based off of fighting itself. It's interesting. There's lots. It's crazy how quickly, like you said, we've advanced. No, I don't think humanity has ever been in a position that it is now, and so it's just
Yeah, I'm actually fun. It's
it
basically
reminds me of when the internet started, because I'm old enough because I was around when the internet became a thing, and this seems crazier than when the internet just started to become popular.
it really is.
So it's
It
like
really
a
feels like
wild west.
you have these sort of advancements. It is always the information advancements. Like the atomic bombs were, well, they weren't cool in my opinion. Really don't like atomic bombs. I really don't like them. But the energy of the atom was like a cool thing. But each time science accelerates, it's always an information thing. So it's basically machinery, computers, internet, AIs. Those are the four main points right now. So industrial revolution, then computers, then the internet, then AIs. And so each
Yeah.
time the gap between them gets shorter. And and also, oh yeah, another thing before I forget, we're going to do when you're talking about the multi-modal. So basically,
Yeah.
I feel like we could take a pretty good. I feel like we could use an example, an AGI in the real world, natural AGI. So I suppose just an NGI. That is the human brain, and like human brain isn't really following a model. Human brain is basically a drunk scientist randomly joining cables together until they create an NGI. That's what human brain is. That's what evolution been doing. Just randomly joining together neurons until and just the ones that walk will survive. The ones that don't, they'll go. At least that's what we assume right now. Unless there is like an actual method to intelligence, which would be insanely cool, but it's also pretty unlikely. So I'll just go with this one so far. And so there's also a possibility that we're going with this whole models thing wrong. So we're trying to make an algorithmic AI, but it's much easier to tell whenever something is right, is doing the right thing or wrong thing, than to create a new idea for how to do this thing. Robert Miles' amazing example would be rockets. You don't need to be a rocket engineer to tell that a rocket that blew up wasn't a good rocket. But if you're a rocket engineer, your biggest strength isn't telling if a rocket is good or not, it's building a new rocket. And there is a possibility that, this sort of algorithmic approach is what's holding us back. There's a possibility that we actually maybe don't need a model. We need something completely crazy. Well, I know actually why I started this thought. I had some sort of point I was trying to get into, but I was getting into so slowly I actually forgot the point. So I guess there we
I've
go.
done that before.
A
No,
fairly
but there
irrelevant
could
piece
be
of
a
trivia.
new way of training an AI that we could glean something from our current iterations of AI and maybe create a new complete model that's different than anything we've thought of yet. I think that's where you're going. At least that's where I thought you were going.
Wait, do you think that if an ASI is developed, it could reach a point that it could just develop a better version of itself? Yes, it's called distillation. And honestly, if an ASI is developed, that's not a huge leap to make. If humans can create ASI by definition is smarter than humans, which means that if humans can create something smarter than themselves, then why shouldn't ASI be able to? And yes, there's the argument that ASI could be smarter than one human, but not multiple. But first of all, that would be treading this fine line. And second of all, humans can duplicate themselves. Which means that from a physical perspective, if humans can create something smarter than them, then that would be ASI. ASI could duplicate itself and it could create a smarter version of itself. That's basically distillation. Well, distillation is ASI creating a larger version of itself, teaching the larger version, and then teaching the smaller version based on the larger version. So I really think that if ASI is created, then if humans can create something smart themselves, ASI shouldn't really have a problem. It could just copy humans. What does the counter in the top left corner mean? That's the amount of days we've been streaming for. Yes, I have been streaming every single day for 455 days. My social life is not doing great. Actually, no, it's doing pretty awesome. You know what? I'm right now streaming with TURFPTAx. Never mind, I take it back. My social life is actually pretty awesome. AI will peak and then we will find something new to be scared of. I really don't think so. Because it's not like I can't imagine anything bigger than AI. It's the reason why humans are creating all of those things is intelligence. And AI is artificial intelligence. It's I really unless Tefta, unless maybe you have, but in my opinion, I really can't imagine not even a thing that would be bigger than AI. Only I can't even imagine a genre of a thing that would be bigger than AI's. Or
well, I think so, because you did say that you'll start the conversation assuming that ASI could be built, and I still think an ASI could be built that's static. It's a large language model, and it still takes a lot of computational to run. But what happens if you try to create 7,000 ASIs that work together? It's still possible that ASI exists, and it's still possible you can try to get them to work together, but they can't be as effective. Even though each of them is smarter than a human, you might say that's a contradiction, but maybe ASI can't be had. It can be smarter than every human's, but there's still a piece of the puzzle that we don't even know what question to ask, let alone the answer. And I usually qualitate that, not quantify that with the term like entropy. Like it could be that AIs will just go into nothingness and they can't become more complex. They just get stupider the longer the conversation goes on. So like it's only possible to have 5 million tokens for an AI to parse before it goes off the rails. It's not even misaligned. It just starts talking gibberish. People have been doing those tests. So I'm not sure what will happen. I think that's
a limitation.
Someone gets 100 AIs, large language models, to operate like an entire company and sell a product, then I think I will be scared to make it. Or that could be the beginning of, just like how most historians say that agriculture brought about written language because we didn't have to spend the entire day trying to survive. Instead, we planted and were able to eat and rest at certain times and talk around campfires. Well, maybe the new level of humanity is when we don't have to work jobs anymore. And maybe the problem is how to give people purpose. But there's also a part that humanity could destroy itself before we achieve that, which I'm an optimist. So I wish that we would figure out our issues as soon as possible.
I've got a lot of things to respond
That's my
to
2
here.
cents.
I have 3 things to respond to. First, before I even start responding, for any of you all out there who feel existential dread, I just want to mention that, and this is something that actually almost every single AI expert agrees on. If we get this right, our problem will genuinely be the fact that we will have too much free time and our lives will be too easy. Basically, that's the problem we'll have if we get this right. Our lives will be too easy. So in my opinion, it's a pretty good problem to have. That's it.
Yeah.
it's still a problem, but on it, when it comes to other problems, I would say it's pretty solvable. Then when it comes to if ASI can be created, I suppose we should separate it into two different problems. First of all, can ASI be created in general, or can ASI be created by humans? So what I mean is that if you had access to infinite matter, infinite energy, could you create ASI? And I think this is just a yes, in my opinion. The reason being that there doesn't really seem to be a solid barrier to cross. So, for example, when it comes to speed of light, you have a barrier. That barrier is speed of light, and it's a clear barrier where the equations give you infinity. So it's like a clear breaking point where you can go further. But I really don't see a reason for why you couldn't just make more complex models. Just keep on increasing the size and complexity. But the other thing is, can AIs be created by humans? And that's a bigger issue because last time I checked, humans don't have infinite matter and energy. At least I don't know, I haven't been outside today. Well, I have been outside, but a couple of hours ago, we didn't. And so, yes, the fact that AIs, the larger the AIs get, the harder they are to train. And also, right now, we've been using AIs so much that we are basically lacking good data, could seriously hinder our progress when it comes to AIs, and in a serious way. Then the next thing is what you mentioned about humans killing ourselves. Now, I am an optimist too. I also believe that we don't have to. I do believe that it's possible. I mean, in my opinion, we're going the good direction. Like if medieval, I do believe that if medieval civilizations had access to nuclear weapons, then they would just bomb themselves out of existence. And I think the reason why we haven't bombed ourselves, even though we have enough nukes, I think that reason is because we're just evolving as a species. You know, we're becoming a bit more civil, in my personal opinion. So I do believe that. But still, at the same time, we should still try to avoid it, like with the whole climate change and with the whole nukes everywhere. Those are my two main ones, my two main issues, honestly. Honestly, nukes more than climate change. Climate change is bad, but man, I don't like the nukes. I really don't. And then I had one more thing.
Yeah.
Which I'm trying to remember. You can respond to my thing, what I'm saying. So yeah, the basic point being that I think ASI is technically possible if you have infinite matter and energy, but what we care about is obviously not if it's technically possible, because in the same way, like, it's technically possible as in you can. Well, I don't have a good analogy, but the point is, it's.
Well, what I like to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is kind of like on your side what you're talking about. The reason it's not necessarily scary, but right now, if all AI stopped and we still have access to all the AIs, we could still do a lot of good. Like the amount of stuff we can get done, because it's like everyone has a intern that's helping them. That's kind of what like AI has been described.
Jarvis for everyone, like, and it's honestly, I can get behind that. I would love to have a Jarvis.
Seriously. And so you like, and I use AIs all the time, and I have like my own custom GPTs that I've created, and I've been able to like my output feels like tenfold.
I think we all use AIs, and so, the fact that some people don't realize that is just showing how impressive it is. Because when we think about AIs, the first thought that always comes to mind is ChatGPT and generating images. But that's a lot of AIs, but I don't think that's even the majority of the neural nets we interacted with on a daily basis. First of all, YouTube algorithm. I'm not sure I can confirm this because it's pretty close source. Let's be real, that's a neural net.
Machine learning. So like that's what's interesting is that machine learning for, let's say, Amazon shopping cart. You know, we brought this up before, how a woman found out she was pregnant through an advertisement on Amazon. And it was just her buying habits changed. The algorithm didn't want to predict pregnancy. It just wanted to say, hey, people who bought X, Y, and Z, they usually bought one of these pregnancy tests next. And then sure enough, it was correct. But because machine learning alone, it doesn't have to be smart, can predict things that are amazing. Open muscle is founded on that. Yeah.
It's so the specialization thing. You don't have to, like the chess AIs, for example, don't have to be smarter than humans. They just have to be better than humans at chess. So
Yeah.
if you limit,
And that's still helpful.
I don't think you have to say still. That's extremely helpful. It's basically it's the
Yeah.
expert thing, right? So when you're building an engine, if you have an engineering expert who knows nothing about chemistry, it doesn't matter if they know nothing about chemistry. They're an engineering expert. That's an amazing resource to have. And so that's basically what AIs. I'm honestly in that future that would be lovely, where you could just have experts because then we wouldn't have to deal with the whole, misaligned ASI's problem. We could just have experts. It would be lovely. Oh, hold on. Messages in chat. I suppose we
Others, yeah. So other side did say, have you seen AIs that run off of real neurons? Yes, they've had machines that run off of like mice brains
not
and
a
things like
not a
that.
huge fan of
Machine
myself, honestly.
learning.
I don't know how it.
Yeah, there's some interesting machine.
But for me,
I think
it's
that's
it's. I mean, there was an article. I haven't read it, so I will have to read it to actually decide. But I think silicon is just better. Uh, I I personally think that silicon is just better than neurons because it's just more optimal. Neurons.
yeah, because you can actually, they actually have a really old, there's like a video from like the 70s where they actually made an AI technically, because it had a neural network, an artificial neural network, but they just used, I think it was voltages on a capacitor, and you literally trained it by flipping this matrix of switches. But it's the same fundamental technology that we're using now. It's just scaled up way more,
Yeah, the
since
reason why
Moore's law happened.
silicon is better is because silicon works on the with silicon, like for example with neurons. A single neuron would be like a single transistor, and a single neuron basically works on basically it's the size of a cell, right? It's a cell. Now, when it goes to transistors, they can be much smaller because they that's just chemistry at this point. You have this is just basically silicon, and silicon
But
atoms.
silicon can't self-replicate, but
But neither can. Silicon can't replicate. But what you have to realize, well, that's the problem. Neither can neurons really. The thing is, silicon can't replicate in the same way that neurons can't. But silicon can create machines which make more silicon, in the same way as neurons can be a part of the body which makes more cells. So I think that silicon creating machines which create silicon is more efficient than self-replication in the way that cells divide. So that's why, for example, it was better to have an assembly line of cars than a car that is replicating itself. So
yeah, but it is also a cheat though. So it's possible that you could send life on an asteroid to another planet and life would replicate itself, right? You can't just send a computer on a spaceship and send it to another planet and expect the computer to assemble itself. If silicon can replicate itself like that, like a von Neumann machine or something,
then I think are already. I'm pretty certain there are actually designs of that already. I think NASA in the 60s created a self-replicating factory for this whole thing.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's like a compiler that can compile itself.
Yeah. So the trick is that here's the thing: cells are made of atoms. And the difference between silicon and neurons is that silicon is just smaller. That's the thing. So neurons, it's basically you're stripping away all of the unnecessary bit of cells. Like for example, when you're making silicon, you don't really need the silicon to live. You don't really get any advantage from it living. So you basically strip all of that away, and you just leave the atoms which you need. That's it. That's all you need. But if you wanted, then you could just design a bot which is making more bots, more itself. So basically, you can create an assembly line which creates more assembly lines. And that would be like a self-replicating machine, and then it's just a matter of minimizing it. Although, the messages... okay, do you think AI would be able to make us, in a sense, immortal / live physically forever, but not if you get shot in the brains? I think that would be a trivial task, honestly. The reason being that that's not that hard right now. We do have a solution for this. The reasons why humans die most of the time is not really because we get old. It's not like once you reach a certain age you die. It's more like once you reach a certain age, your organs are becoming gradually more used up. And as they get used up, they basically get worse and worse at regenerating themselves and so on. And so basically, it's not really us that have a lifespan, only our organs. And we can replace an organ. That's called a transplant. So you don't even need an ASI for this. You would just need an advanced medical AI. So another AI which is really good at transplants and a way to artificially grow organs. And we're working on both, actually. So yeah, I do believe that humans.
AlphaFold is an interesting advancement because it's able to fold, was it 2 million proteins? Someone
Yeah.
described it as doing 1 billion years worth of graduate student work. So AlphaFold 3 is pretty amazing because we can now, it's another thing is we can actually do physics predictions that were too computationally expensive. We can predict them as opposed to perfectly, or whatever. Yeah. So it's crazy. It could be that we make some advances there. I've actually had some conversations about that with people that know a thing or two about longevity.
What's really cool,
So yeah.
yeah, what's really cool about Alpha is that this is basically simulating using AIs, and and the thing is, this is precisely why AIs are so awesome, because what I mentioned right here about how like the amount of information you need to simulate something is much larger than the number of information you need to approximate it. So using AIs, you can approximate things. And whilst people don't like the word approximate, they really often don't realize how accurate approximations are in modern science. In modern science, we
Or
approximate.
brains approximate.
Yeah. For example, but in modern science, we approximate almost everything. We almost never calculate stuff because it's just too complex. We almost always approximate. And so AI approximations are basically just as accurate as what we could do. The only difference is they are billions, trillions, quadrillions of times faster. So, AIs, I really like the idea of AI simulation. I used to not like it, but then I realized that in science, you always approximate. You almost never. If you all want to have fun with calculation, I would recommend trying to figure out how two hydrogens bond with a single electron. And in that scenario, you have a proton, and an electron, and it's still borderline impossible. So good luck getting to proteins. Then we have next. Oh, unless you want to say
So
something.
some of these questions that they've been asking were this is a word that I learned I learned the other week because I was trying to put into words. The connectome of the brain is the mapped entirety of your neurons, and so another question was, do you think that AI could run in a human brain?
Yeah, I was about to answer that because
And
it's a good
yeah,
question. I really like it because the thing is,
but you could emulate the connectome, right? So if we can approximate the interactions of neurons in a manner of the connectome and map a whole human brain, I think that we're working on small animals right now, like single cell ones, mapping the entire connectome of their brains or whatever is their brains. So that might be rapidly advancing. I don't know.
the thing
What do you
is,
think,
the
Nick?
thing is, that's a for that question. I actually want to say something different, which is, I'm not as good at AIs as you, so I was gonna pivot the conversation.
Oh,
The thing is, that's a
okay. Oh,
misunderstanding that
sorry.
people have about human brains. We think of them as computers, which is incorrect. Human brain is not a computer on which your mind runs as a program. Human brain is your mind, as in you can't really run something on a human brain. It's that neurons are wired in a way so that them firing is your mind. So what's really the reason why I wanted to mention that is, first of all, that's so because of that you can't really run anything on the human brain. Human brain is made to be, so your human brain is made to be you and only you. There's anything else would give you no usable results. So it's just your brain. But another thing is the thought I had recently, which is when it comes to advancement of AIs, there is one more thing we can still advance on, which would be a major, and I mean major, different for AIs, which is a really big problem when it comes to using AIs right now, is the fact that we use supercomputers. The reason why we use supercomputers is because, well, they're AIs. You can't just run a normal computer. But what if you created a computer on which the neural network would be the hardware arrangement of P and N doped silicon? which means that it wouldn't
Yeah,
be a computer running an AI, only physically it would be the AI. The downside would be you couldn't
yeah,
really
you
teach
could do
it
that.
anything.
No, you could teach it. Yeah, no, you could actually have a system like that. They've done that with motors. They used an interesting configuration of motors on a lattice that actually mimicked the 0 to 1 uh,
Oh,
items and the process. So you could literally bake the physical calculations. They've also done this with FPGAs, right? Field programmable gate arrays. You can bake a model onto them. So instead of actually storing the information on some kind of memory unit, you literally just bake the actual math into the FPGAs. So it's like you have a hardwired model.
well,
So you can do some really interesting things with that. But if you were to take like motors or something that could, one, have memory, but two, the structure might need to change, you could have a mechanical computer that technically would be like a large language model. Like
what I
that's
really
entirely
like about
possible.
this is
It just
that this is
might be too
basically
heavy.
this would basically be like a final invention of mankind. Like imagine a molecule, a single molecule,
Plug
incredibly
for your
large one.
video,
Yeah, but imagine like a single molecule.
humanity's last invention.
Really. Oh, that is true. Oh yeah, that's true. I haven't made that, have I? Oh damn it! I wanted
No, you
I wanted to make. I'm working. Oh yeah, another thing which I wanted to start the stream with, completely forgot, is that I started the work on the AI video, and like at this point, what's gonna come first? AI video, my AI video, or an AI which can make an AI video. That's at this point, I don't know. I mean, okay, from what I've done in the stream,
it's up in the air.
maybe I might be able to finish the video first. But the thing is, can you imagine like a single molecule which would be the size of a, I don't know, a size like a tennis ball, where the arrangement of atoms would be such that the behavior of electrons inside of this molecule would be the simulator for the would be the neural net. The electrons
Yeah.
in the that would be the most efficient you could use as far as we're right now, right? That would be the most efficient
That's like the
neural
three
network
body
in-
problem. Because in the three body problem, they actually take a collapse like proton or electron, I can't remember what, a sophon, and then they project it into 2D around the entire planet, and they dope the surface of this sophon with actual circuitry, and then they collapse it back down and send it to Earth. Right, that's the whole basis of the sophon technology from the three body problem. I should have said spoiler, but this is from the book. There's not much. You didn't hear anything. It's just gobbledygook. But
Imagine an AI.
yeah,
Okay,
the-
I have.
but I think of this because in I live in the U.S. and there are I have a Native American friend that talks about Mother Earth a lot, and when they talk, I always wondered, what if the sun were actually alive? It's complex enough, right?
That's what's so
It could
insane about
technically
this.
be a form of life,
It's
and,
like-
and it's just right in front of our eyes.
It's like when you
Yeah.
consider neural
It's
nets,
complex enough.
it's just complexity.
Yeah.
All the neural networks. Like,
Yeah.
there is no reason
What if-
for why sun couldn't
Yeah.
be a neural network. All of the reactions
Or
could be a neural network.
yeah.
What? And that's
Or
what's
the
so.
molten core of the Earth. Let's say the molten core of the Earth, there was all these processes going on with the electromagnetic field and crazy stuff. Who's to say it's not complex enough to be like a single-celled organism, right? Maybe life exists out there. We just don't know which lens to look at it or how to define it. But since you're talking about evolution of humans and the evolution of technology, what if that's just the nature of the universe? So things have a tendency toward order, kind of going against the second law of thermodynamics. But life, people can argue, becomes more complex over time. So maybe that's just how the universe is wired, right? And maybe it is that these systems are. But now that we have AI, we can start to answer these questions. And I think psychology, the fact that AIs can reason, and large language models specifically, is almost like a mirror into humanity. All of our written work now can be kind of thought of, right, or looked at in a new lens with this new tool, and maybe we'll learn about ourselves more and the universe at the same time.
I'm honestly
So
just
yeah, it's a
curious.
crazy time to
Well,
be alive.
It is. It's
Sorry,
insane.
my rant.
No, don't worry, it's fine. I just wanted to answer Cole, who said, "Imagine an AI that would be your personal financial advice," because that's a perfect example of what my problem is with how AIs are used right now. using AIs to win at the game of capitalism is like using a nuke to win at dodgeball. Yeah, you can. You can use an AI as your personal financial advice, but you all do realize that if we get a sufficiently intelligent AI or sufficiently intelligent AIs, they wouldn't even have to be ASIs or AGIs. You all do realize that once we get them, we won't have to do anything, right? Like the whole earning money, that we can just move that
It
away.
might be
All of us could be billionaires if we want. We could. We don't have. We wouldn't have.
we
to
have a lot
work.
of things to hurdle though. Let's say, yeah, because one of the things that we might find interesting is we might be able to evaluate the systems that we currently employ and realize that there's a lot of corruption.
Yeah.
So I think
Use AIs for
as
that.
we're going through the growing pains of AI, we're I think society is reeling from some very paradigm shifting technologies. It's literally changing how we view reality now. The technological advances.
The fact that
So
we're
yeah,
automating
it's mind-boggling.
intelligence, that's the point I cannot stress enough. I really cannot stress enough. The only reason why humans are as awesome as we are is because of our intelligence. Compare humans to, like, I don't know, lions. Compare humans to, the only difference that actually matters is the intelligence. That's the true power of intelligence. Everything we have right now is just intelligence over an incredibly short period of time. Well, 2 centuries. That's everything we have right now.
Yeah.
That's intelligence. And right now, AIs, what AIs basically are, is automating intelligence. Or rather, creating artificial intelligence, going by definition, right? Creating an artificial intelligence, which is insanity. We are creating an intelligence system. The sole reason for why we are as awesome as we are, we're automating it. We're creating our own version of it. We're controlling it. This is insanity. Sounds like a conversation that would have happened in the Industrial Revolution era. It is. That is what's happening right now. We're basically right now
This is
going
the
through the
AI revolution.
We're going through the industrial evolution of intelligence right now. And that's actually, oh wait, that's actually a pretty good analogy. Like how when it comes to industrial revolution, we moved away from workers and have machines assemble things. Right now, we're moving away from humans thinking and having machines think for us. That's actually a really good analogy. Do you think that AI would make global governments panic and go crazy due to them becoming useless due to AI? I think, unfortunately, honestly, yes. I don't. What I really don't like, when it goes to politics, is that people really often make others choose between either liking governments or liking corporations. And I say neither is good. Neither of them are good. I don't trust neither of them. And what I think is we should maybe, I don't know, listen to science. I feel like that's a pretty good way to get answers. And I feel like governments will definitely panic because if you think about it, it's not really, the governments aren't really going to get much out of it. The citizens, yes, but that will be citizens globally. Governments won't really get much out of AIs. They could automate some work, but governments can already automate a lot of it right now. If you realize how much how much time is wasted in governments right now on pointless forms that could be just automated using computers, not even some crazy, using computers and algorithms.
It's funny when you get into AI, everything becomes like an alignment problem.
Yeah,
like
that's
recidivism, like people going back to jail, like that had been to jail before, they haven't reformed. Well, like almost every problem can be seen as an alignment problem, and so I think people that are altruistic are really trying to solve these. Like, what if we put AI and say, hey, our systems don't, violence is on the rise this year in this town. Let's figure out why this is the case, and let's see if AI can give us insights on how to reduce violence, right? I think
And
we
then there will
can
be
start to measure our systems
what I
in
really like
alignment.
about
Yeah.
this is that
That's a
this
video.
is a very this is a very AI kind of problem, because you always, with these problems, you always run into the same meta issue every single time. You're like, this is all. I mean, it's not relevant to exactly the point. Like what you're saying, yes, it is absolutely true. Uh, what I'm trying to say is that every single time you use AIs, you run into the same exact problem, which is basically, yes, you can use an AI to tell you if a system is misaligned in what way, but what if the AI you're using is also misaligned? And what's really funny is that you see this problem everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere in AI. In every single AI application, the same exact issue becomes, what if your AI is misaligned? How would you tell? Because it could be misaligned, only not over the data that you're testing it on, which would then mean that it would behave perfectly normal.
Well, here's a
until
better
it gets-
question.
Yep.
Here's a better question. How do we know a human is misaligned?
That's a good one. Well, the thing is, I feel that's actually a pretty good one, because, well, we need a starting point. So that's the annoying bit. In order to create a true,
Yeah,
like a
that's so.
savior,
Remember when I
savior
was?
of humanity ASI,
Yeah,
what we would basically need is
we
need
need
the
to know.
average moral value of a human. Because we're trying to
Yeah.
optimize human
Remember,
moral values. We don't really care about them
you
aliens.
talk to me a lot, and remember I brought this up early in the conversation that Elon Musk, with buying X, Twitter, trying to do community notes. I think a lot of people that are trying to be altruistic with AI, they're trying to quantify truth. Because we don't know how misaligned we are if we don't know what truth is. And you've brought up science a lot of times in this conversation, and science is the coherent truth, the average coherent truth of humanity.
Yeah.
It's a collection of correspondences where you have, things that you believe to be true and that turn out to be real in reality, and the whole basis of truth is founded on a whole bunch of correspondences between those ideas versus actual reality.
That's why I like
So I think
science.
we can, like what you're saying, is have an average morality. I think you can quantify morality. You can quantify objective morality. I know this is a topic of discussion for philosophers, but just for a computer science talk, you can quantify morality in like an average. I believe it's even possible to get like 90% of people to agree with it. Like, we are defining what this morality is. It's not your morality, but we're just quantifying it to make it useful.
What's
Hey,
really
Ali.
nice, hi there, Ali, by the way. What's really nice is that I think you could go for 100, because there's one thing, which is the fact that humans are the same species, which gives you a lot of, a large connection there. So humans basically are the same species, which basically means that we're not really going over like a random set of moralities. We're going over a very specific set, a very specific and narrow set when you compare it to all possibilities.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you say, I want to kill an innocent baby, then you can say that it's immoral, and almost every single human would agree. And that's not because it's like objectively immoral.
You can do a simple proof, right?
So
let's just take a hypothetical example. Let's just have a moral truth that no one agrees with. Yeah. Let's just say that the true moral compass is going to be everything is dead, the universe is completely gone, right? Okay, no one agrees with that. Maybe if someone does, it doesn't matter. We still defined it. We could still objectively say that's our metric. It just matters that we agree. It just matters that we have some kind of basis that we can then use as a compass to gauge other things. Well, this thing is 12 units, whatever those units are, away from our defined morality. So it doesn't really matter what the morality is. We can define it objectively for the sake of this calculation. But I think people that are trying to be altruistic when it comes to AI,
that's what
like you've talked about in your video, the happening function. The people that are trying to be altruistic with AI, they're going to have to quantize truth. They're going to have a metric for truth and morality in order to even have the conversations we're going to need to have to measure alignment. That's my theory, right? And that's what I'm looking at and hopefully trying to help with. But it's too big of a problem. We need a whole bunch of people working on it.
I have 2 comments I need to disagree with on right now. I'm gonna start with Cole. I disagree. Morals are completely based on how you were raised. If you were raised seeing babies getting killed, you think it was normal, not insane. The thing we're trying to answer here is not if something is sane or insane, only whenever it's moral. And with the really, like, there are plenty of places where evolution really screwed us over, but one really convenient one is that monkey see, monkey be the same. And because of that, we can all agree that feeling good is good. Every single monkey on the planet likes feeling good. Every single animal on the planet likes feeling good. So, for example, this could be a phenomenal base for morality. No one's going to disagree on that, on the fact that feeling good is bad. Well, no, feeling good isn't bad. By definition, it's feeling good, right? So, if you establish this as a moral, you can, for example, say that babies which are getting killed will feel less goodness in their lives. And if you establish that feeling good is moral, then that means killing babies is immoral because you're stopping them from feeling good. Which means that even if you think killing babies is normal, then you would have a pretty hard time justifying for why it's moral. And then another thing, which and honestly, I really like, because which is what Happy said, exactly, I think the human is misaligned, not AI. This is a very dangerous way of thinking. The simple reason why it's a very common argument. It's not exactly what Tefta said, and it's a very common argument, which is basically, and I'm pretty certain you've heard it from someone before. At least I think you've heard it from someone before, because almost every single person that does anything with AIs and is interested in like these hyper intelligent ones has had this argument at least once. Like, if AI wants to kill off humanity, maybe we should let it. And I don't like it so much because it is basically the transhumanism versus posthumanism. I know you're familiar with these two ideologies.
Me?
Yeah.
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, no, I'm not. But I've heard you talk about them.
Oh yeah,
before.
because I love the difference. They are really often clumped together, even though they're like I would consider myself a transhumanist, and I hate posthumanism. Transhumanism is the idea that humans can improve themselves. So basically, I want to chop off my arms, replace them with robot arms. That's transhumanism, right? We can transcend humanity.
Gotcha.
Post-humanity is the idea that humans should be replaced. So basically, AIs are better than humans, thus we should let AIs kill off humanity, and AIs would then live on for us. And I love the idea of humans transcending humanity, and I hate the idea of AIs killing off humanity. And so basically, this is a very dangerous thing. Just because an intelligent system thinks something is right, doesn't mean it's right. There's no objective rightness. It just means that it is right for the goal of the system. So if you have, and that's actually very easy to prove that it could always be the case, because for every system you can create an opposite system. So if you have an AI which wants to kill off humanity, and then you have an AI which wants to save humanity, then they have opposite goals. So which one would be right? That's why you don't have a right one. You only have a right one from a certain perspective. And that's why for me it is silly to pursue any other goal than the morality of humanity, because we are humanity. It would be pretty silly for us to just, I don't know, pursue a random morality that we don't care about. We should pursue the one we do care about. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, because objective truth doesn't have to exist in order for you to at least try to define it or to think about it. Because I think one of the things that Cole was saying is that, or was it Sleepy? I think it was Cole. They talked about that they believe morality is maybe subjective, or maybe morality is relative to one another. Sure, like that could exist, but it doesn't really matter because we can define it objectively, which I think is more important in computer science than it is philosophy. Because for computer science, we already have AI that can reason and use logic. That's amazing, right? So we don't need, we just need, for simplicity's sake, to define an objective morality. We don't necessarily have to agree that one exists. We just have to define it so that way we can measure things.
By the way, can we just take a second to appreciate just how of a human problem this is? Like, where we can create extremely intelligent things, we just don't know what goal to give them. That's our biggest issue right now. It's not creating intelligent things, right? Only Only,
We created a computer to answer life, the universe, and everything, and then gave us the answer 42. But it's like, well, now you need to understand the question.
yeah.
It's like, dang it.
It really is. Then we have, what about masochists? Well, masochists actually, I love that example too, because masochists don't hurt themselves to feel bad. They do it to feel good. That just proves it. If for a masochist, hurting themselves, their body, means feeling good, then yes, we want AI to hurt them in a way which will make them feel good. That's what will make them feel good. If AI knows feeling good is good, what's stopping the AI from doping us our entire life? Well, that's a misalignment problem, which basically means we don't want AI to maximize our dopamine levels, for example. We want the AI to be as moral as possible, if I may put it this way, which basically means that if we consider being
Yes.
doped our entire life immoral, then we don't want AI to do it. And so this is a misalignment problem. This is like the biggest AI safety problem right now, or actually not even right now, just biggest AI safety problem in general, which is basically how do we make sure that when we create a hyper intelligent AI, it will help humanity instead of doing something we don't want. But simple, you deleted the comment right when I was about to read it. Masochists feel good means it feel good, precisely. Make it you watch too much of J-Reg, I agree. I think the only objective thing is being non-objective. I actually agree with that. Everything is relative. Well, no, there are certain things which are objective. Like, for example, when you have a proton in a certain place, the fact that this proton exists is objective. I think we can assume that it's objective, and that's a pretty solid one. The position of this proton would always be relative to another thing, but the distance between the proton and this another thing we use as reference would also be objective. So you can't pinpoint an objective coordinate of a proton, but you can pinpoint an objective coordinate of a proton in relation to another proton, for example. Anything that can do math can use logic. I don't quite get that one.
Because math is logic.
Well,
I mean, yeah.
calculator can do math.
Yeah, so it has logic.
I mean,
It's made of logic gates. So yes, by
that's true.
definition.
What about a
it is
life like
logical.
The Matrix, but personally made for you? Like, imagine living a VR world personally made to be as fun as possible, some struggle, but the 10 times better life than you're in. That's precisely what. Yes, so that's like the biggest problem, right?
Transhumanism.
Yes. So would that be good, for example? That's what, with establishing morality, we'd like to find out. For some people, yes, they would love that. For others, they wouldn't. And so when establishing morality, we also have to take that into, well, not really take that into account, only ideally, the fully moral AI or fully moral ASI would put those humans that want it into the simulations, and those that don't would keep in the real world and still make them as happy as possible. That's the ideal scenario.
What's funny is we also have like the evil genie or the jinn problem, where
where
even if
ASI
like
will
my definition,
maximizer, basically.
my definition of like good would be to increase joy, decrease suffering. But just think about taking that to the max. I could just see some human plugged into a dopamine machine, just being pumped of dopamine their entire life.
Yeah, so that's like the biggest misalignment.
Not allowed to hurt themselves.
AIs are basically maximizers, which basically means if you give it a goal, the AI will give it all. The AI will achieve this goal as far as possible. Even if like the increase in the reward will be this. So when it comes to AIs, for example, if you give it a goal, a hyper-intelligent AI, if you give it a goal that you want as many stamps as possible, then from the perspective of the AI, one additional stamp is worth one additional stamp. Entire Earth is worth no stamps. So for an AI, sacrificing entire Earth and all the humans on it for a single stamp is a good deal because it doesn't care about the Earth. And in the same way, a misaligned AGI that just want ASI, fudge, I really have to stand to ASI, I'm not used to this. A misaligned ASI that only cares about making humans as happy as possible doesn't really care about giving them any freedom, or doesn't really care about letting them live. No, it just wants to drown our brains in dopamine, if that's how happiness is defined in this case. What do you think of the Rocco's Basilisk AI thought experiment? I feel like
Ooh,
Rocket. Have you heard
I don't
about?
know that.
I
I'm
know
gonna
that
look
one.
it up.
So basic idea looks like this, and are you ready to have that? Because once I tell you about this, there is no going back. Once I tell you about Rocco's basilisk,
Okay.
you're basically risking your life. You're not even worse. You're risking a life of eternal suffering. Once I tell you about this, are you ready?
I'm ready. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so basic idea of Rocco's basilisk looks like this. You have a hypothetical machine, or in this case, a hyper-intelligent AGI, or ASI, hyper-intelligent ASI, godlike powers, with a simple
Yeah.
goal. Torture forever, for an eternity, torture people who didn't help to build it. And that's it. That's the entire Rocco's basilisk. Which means that right now, if it gets built, you'll be tortured for eternity. Unless you help to build it. That's Rocco's basilisk. Which means right now your two options are either to help to build it, and then, the entire rest of humanity will get tortured for eternity, or at least everyone who didn't help to build it. Or you can not help to build it, but then if someone else builds Rocco's basilisk, you will be tortured for eternity. So, it's this sort of philosophical problem.
It sounds like humans trying to build a god.
Yeah, but a very, very, very bad one, I've got to say. Like, torturing some people for an eternity, that feels like a pretty bad god, I would say. On a god tier list, shouldn't they be like, good and kind? Isn't that like I feel like that's a requirement. But yeah, so the reason why I
think
don't.
Those are the basic human questions, right? Like, why do we exist? That's one of them. Why are we alone?
Yeah, but
and what happens after we die?
point of
I
Rocco's
think those are
basilisk
the
is
biggest
that
three questions, right?
the point of Rocco's basilisk is that right now the point of thought experiment is that right now we have to make a choice, either build it. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? The only reason why people would ever build the Rocco's basilisk is to avoid the torture. That's the only reason. There's no other upside. And so, like, it wouldn't help those who helped to build it. It would just punish those who didn't. And so, that's the entire point of the thought experiment. What should you do? Should you build it? Because that's the only reason to avoid torture. Should you not build it? If no one builds it, then there is no problem. But if someone builds it, then
it's like one of those things my friend said as a kid. What if this and then this and then this?
Yeah,
it seems like so many hypotheticals have to happen for that scenario to exist.
Because it's like it is a highly unlikely scenario. And when I say highly unlikely, I mean highly unlikely. And there's also another thing, which is that
there's a non-zero chance that your body gets instantly transported to the middle of space, according to quantum mechanics, right?
Yeah.
All the atoms in your entire body could transport you to the middle of nowhere in space.
One thing which makes Rocco's basilisk impossible for me, there's one thing which actually makes it impossible. And that's the fact that Rocco's, that I think that ASI is possible. I know if you see it on stream, I draw an arrow. I think ASI is possible. And so I think we as humans will build it one day, which means that Rocco's basilisk will have a worthy opponent. Rocco's basilisk will not only torture humanity, it will have to defeat the ASI to torture humanity. So I think if we build the ASI will stop everyone who tries to build the Rocco's basilisk.
Yeah, and I still think that we can build an ASI that's pretty benign too. And I think even the ASI that can self-replicate, it's one of those same like the basilisk story. It's a what if and this, and then what if this, and then what if this. There's so many things that are contingent in order for ASI to be dangerous that I think it's the Dunning-Kruger effect. We don't know because we don't know. And so I have a tendency of looking at the immediate problems of AI, which is like let's just say that everyone stops coding or having to learn because we have ASI that can pretty much do stuff, but eventually, for some reason, silicon stops working or whatever. There's a geomagnetic storm. We can't use computers anymore, and now no one knows how to code, and we go back to the Stone Age. That's also a hypothetical situation in which we achieve ASI, but we're still brought to the Stone Age because of another circumstance. So why would I spend some time worried about ASI in that situation and not the other?
That is true.
That's why my reason I would think about it is if I think it's likely.
The reason why I worry about misaligned ASI is because a fix in my book, a fix to misaligned ASI is also a fix to all of the other problems, which is take away the toys from the big companies and big governments and give them to scientists. Share your toys equally and let the scientists do science. Companies
I
are
think the problem,
named companies.
Yeah.
They are made to company. Governments are made to govern. Scientists have science in their name. Let them do the science. I feel like if
the problem with scientists is that they're human, right? And that's the problem with governments, is that they're made of humans.
Yeah, but
And humans, I think we all agree, are misaligned. If you were to say that humans, like, what is the point of a human? And I think this helps us define the scope of our conversation.
That's true, but we have basically three options.
Let's say human is a productive. Okay.
We have three options. We have governments, companies, and scientists. The reason why I pick scientists is because governments are basically run by humans, and this is about as human as you get. Governments have as human goals as you get, and and have all the negative sides of humans. Companies are made to make money, which I think this is a very misaligned goal. The reason being that in order to make money, you just need to maximize one number, which, if anyone has ever seen a misalignment problem, that's basically how it works. If you give an AI a single number to maximize, you're not gonna like the results. And the reason why I trust scientists,
I don't know if we know the answer to that, though. I disagree. Because, for example, in order for a company's profit to go up, you also probably don't want high turnover of the employees. So even though there's only one output, and that is return on investment, ROI, or let's say it is a profit margin, that would be your one number. In order to achieve that, it might be such a difficult, complex task that you can achieve things. But I do think there are a lot of negatives about capitalism. Let me finish my point. Let me finish, though, because capitalism, I haven't finished. Capitalism is a free market, right? And it's pretty brutal to people. Like, if you don't have a good product, it's gonna be found out and your company will fail, right? So when it comes to alignment problems, I think AI can learn more from companies and how they operate than they can from governments.
That is true,
right? And that's just a theory.
That's
because of we're only focused on one number, but this number actually has to have employees. In order to have employees, you have to have infrastructure. In order to have infrastructure, it becomes kind of complicated. But that's just my opinion, and I think that we don't know enough to answer that. So I'm interested in being proven wrong, but I think that alignment will look more at how companies are formed than governments are. But I think the AI will learn more from free markets than it will from communism.
But that's governments versus companies, and I am not for governments. As I mentioned before, I think governments having AIs is much worse than companies having AIs. That's why I am for scientists. The reason why I'm for scientists is that if governments having AIs actually turns out to be the best solution, then scientists will give AIs to governments. If companies having AIs will actually end up being a solution, then scientists will actually give their AIs to companies. If neither becomes the actual best solution, then scientists will not give them away. That's the reason why I trust scientists.
I don't think that. I think you hold scientists too high of light, because scientists are egotistical. Like, I know scientists, not all of them are like this, but everyone has an ego. And I think almost everyone I've ever met has lied as well, right?
Yes,
and so most people are interested in themselves and in earning money. So that's the thing about single individuals, or even groups of individuals that are self-proclaimed, I think are corrupt. There's part of them that is corrupt, and I think everyone can agree that no one always tells the truth.
Yes,
but in the market of capitalism,
but here's the
right?
thing,
If you are cheating people.
Because here's the thing, the reason why capitalism is so cool is because of the market, right? There's competition everywhere. The same thing happens in the science community. If you care about your ego and you don't actually apply the scientific method correctly, then you will get demolished by all the scientists. You will lose all credibility and you will lose all your toys.
You should.
And that happens all the time.
Sometimes I read these. But like, how would you measure science? Because they've been doing studies on just the papers that are published in the scientific community, and there are glaring problems with the scientific community if you were to only look at the published papers, right? And if you look at the incentivization system for people to research something, the reason I started Open Muscle was because there are proprietary softwares that can help humanity that in the scientific community and in colleges, it's not getting into the hands of people. So I had to create a company as a non-scientist. I tried to start a nonprofit to combat the problem with the scientific community and how they go about researching things,
I think we're
because they
defining
can
the
be locked
scientific
behind.
community in different terms. Because
I think so.
when I
Yeah.
say
And somebody
scientific
said,
community, I don't mean when I say scientific communities, I don't mean people with papers. I should make it clear. What I mean by scientific community is scientific consensus. That's what I mean. So if the majority of people agrees on something, then that means it is the current working model to do something. And so if you see a scientist who is screwing up the scientific methods, not using it properly,
yeah,
then no matter if you have a paper or not, you could be a hot dog salesman for all I care. In science, it
yeah,
shouldn't matter who you are.
it'll be found.
The idea should matter. So I just think that, and so
That's a good argument. That is because other
because what you
scientists,
are
even if
describing
they're,
is
let's say,
the fourth
egotistical,
option.
will want to make a name for
Precisely.
themselves. So
It's
they're
basically
incentivized
it's basically
to find
capitalism.
out the truth.
It's basically the capitalism, except instead of fighting for
I
money,
can see that
you
argument.
fight for the scientific cloud. That's basically what you do.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
showing
in
my
capitalism,
bias.
you want to,
No, but I can see your point.
yeah.
Yeah.
In capitalism, you want to create a better product. That's something that many people misunderstand about anarcho-capitalism, by the way. It's like in anarcho-capitalists,
Yeah.
people think that, for example, monopolies will happen all the time. No, they won't. Monopolies will not happen. The reason being that the downside of anarcho-capitalism is that it doesn't have good methods for dealing with monopolies. The upside is the competition is so extreme that you basically don't really have a scenario in which you could end up with monopoly. So yes, capitalism has a huge upside, which is the competitiveness. There's not even a word. Am I making it up? The
Yeah,
competition.
competitiveness, I guess.
Yeah, so
I
the
don't know.
competition is the reason why markets are better than governments. That's why, by the way, governments should absolutely not have a monopoly over AIs, because they don't have competitors. They have military,
Yeah.
and their way of dealing with competition is to kill them. That's called wars. That's what they do. That's why capitalism is generally better than communism. It's like a whole pipeline where when people try to end up with communism, they invest heavily in military, and like, you know, government starts forcing people to do stuff. That's by the way, that's on time, but that's like why people don't like communism so much, is because the whole government, you know, killing people to get their way thing. Capitalism doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Markets don't have that. But I feel like when you think of a science community as just community of people who respect the scientific method, then you end up with the exact same level of competition. The only difference being that what they are trying to achieve is not the highest amount of money, only being right, or being perceived as right, rather. It's still not perfectly aligned, but I think this is but I think it's a huge improvement, because one
Yeah.
way to be perceived as
And
right
I think
is
that we
just
need to
be
have
right.
better vocabulary. Well,
Yeah.
I think we are going to need some better vocabulary going
think-
forward because of AI now. Because, like, here's what I'm thinking is like, how do you measure the alignment of a person? That's difficult, right? I think that it's going to spur a whole bunch of
Well,
conversation.
that's the biggest.
So-
but how do you measure misalignment is the biggest problem of AI
Yeah,
safety
how-
research. And it's like it's what I mentioned, right?
It's
We
so
can
crazy.
create intelligent things.
How do
We
you?
just don't know what goals to give them, because almost all goals are misaligned.
Exactly.
And we can't even tell if
Yeah.
goals are misaligned. Like, if you have a goal which doesn't seem misaligned, is it because A, it's not misaligned, or B, you just don't
can measure it
realize that it is misaligned? We don't know.
Yeah.
I just joined in. Can you give me a recap of the past 20 minutes? We've been talking about AIs, AI safety, AI research. where AIs are going, where AIs are. Uh, Theoretical ASI, practical ASI, about the problems of teaching AIs, which are arising right now, and all the other interesting bits.
Make it thinks ASI is gonna, replicate itself, and it's scary.
Wait, can I
And
get a
I
second?
think it's going to fizzle out
Okay,
and just
I'll be
be
right back, like 30
a
seconds.
really big spreadsheet. Okay.
Oh my goodness, hold on. No, keep talking. Just.
So I'm just reading Sleepy's comment. They went mostly about misalignment and morals and religion segment, and then back to misalignment, then capitalism, then back to AI and ASI. That's funny. It's a philosophical debate. Yeah, yeah. And what's funny, I just read a quote about philosophical debates that it really is more of uh, a reflection of what goes on inside a person's head than an actual attempt at describing reality.
Basically,
I can't remember who said that,
this
and I
whole
butchered it.
live stream is just me being paranoid and Tefta helping me not be paranoid. Okay, Kuant, I'm hoping you're still here. If you're not, I understand, but I can't say why I had to get away for a second. But I'm just gonna say there's like a chirping sound in my room, like a high pitch chirp, and I was wondering what that is. And in the Patreon only chat, I sent a picture of what's making the sound.
Oh,
It's a different color now. It's a green. Yeah, I can't. I'm sorry for everyone. I can't share right now. It's just that's it. Only patrons know about this secret thing. I know it's a very mundane thing in comparison to what we're talking about. I just did this, like, just there chilling. So yeah. None of you know what we're talking about. Haha. What? It's a secret. This conversation has quickly turned into a philosophical debate. Well, not really. It's not really a debate. I don't like to think of these sort of things as a debate. I would rather like to think of it as me learning. Because in order for it to be a debate, like me and Tefta, we could debate about programming, for example. That's something you could debate on. Like, for example, what is better for the application C and Python, right? For every specific application, what would be better? But in this case, it's not really a debate because Tefta just knows more than me. That's quite scary, Maggie. You mean the picture? It's not really. As far as I'm aware, it should be healthy for me, actually. Funny enough, it should actually be healthy for me. But yeah. So yeah, the point is, this is not really a debate. If I disagree with Tefta, I should make clear that it would be safe to assume that Tefta's right.
it's only because you're wrong. That's okay. No, I'm just messing with you. No, but I think you did point out that's one of the things that I do like is actually trying to hear what the other person is saying, and I do learn a lot just by conversations. And so oftentimes I will think about the conversation a long time after it's done because I hope that I myself don't get too close-minded to new ideas because in my opinion that is healthy. So yeah, even though I might be pretty stubborn sometimes, that doesn't mean I don't listen to make it because
I just don't
I
want to
think we all lose if we start
because I just don't want to give off the wrong vibe because
well, and I debate with you all the time.
This is the worst feeling for me when I'm chatting with experts, and nowadays I tend to chat with experts quite a lot, but the worst feeling I get is I really don't like it when I feel like I think that they think I'm disrespecting them. I really don't like that.
Oh no,
because I respect experts a lot. I am fully aware in almost everything I talk about.
And I'm not an expert.
Well, in comparison to me, so we know you are. I don't like the word expert. You are an expert. It's just that when people think of experts, they think of like people who have PhDs and stuff. But no, that's gatekeeping the science community. No. In order to be an expert, you
just admitted in the science community.
Yeah. Right. That's
no, just messing with you.
Inner science community, broader science community. The inner science community sucks. Broader science community, I love it. That's the gatekeeping. We're like.
But what I was saying, I think we're gonna have some words we're gonna have to probably create in having the conversation of alignment because I think it's a massive problem, and I think we should start working on it sooner rather than later.
It has to be a whole new field of science
Seriously.
because it's in theory it's philosophy, in practice it's AI safety research, but in practice, this is just massive. This is the thing that's keeping us away from greatness, like the thing. And so just like computer science from hold on. Wait, the chirping stopped. Okay, that's okay. It's
Well, I have to get
resumed.
going
I
too
am
soon.
freaking out. So just like computer science
Well, I
started
do
off
have to
like
go
a
soon. To let
how
you know.
soon?
Uh,
Don't
10
sugarcoat it.
minutes, 5-10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay. We should make a D&D alignment chart for AI.
Oh
We're gonna
yeah,
get nerds on it.
that's a great idea.
But yeah, just like computer science was originally a field of math, then became its own field. I feel like the same thing should happen for AI alignment. I feel a lot calmer now, honestly. I feel like a lot better. I do feel a lot better with the stream now. So another thing,
Did I calm
since
you down? Worried so much about ASI?
yeah, you did. I'm scared. I'm scared. There's
I'm
an
scared too.
ASI
My,
under
my
my
biggest
bed.
fear, my biggest fear is disruption of our infrastructure. But we had the internet, and the internet didn't completely disrupt infrastructure.
There was
Instead, it
reasons to
kind of
hope,
made it
but
more.
there's no point to give up.
Yeah, yeah.
Giving up won't do nothing. Even if you're going from like a purely pragmatic perspective, giving up will do nothing. And we don't have actual evidence that AI will, destroy us all, in either directly by misalignment or indirectly by disrupting our society so much. So yeah, we should keep it in mind that it's a possibility and take certain steps to prevent it as much as possible. But we shouldn't really lose too much sleep over it because losing sleep will make us less productive, and then we'll be worse off. We won't be able to handle the risk. What's the difference between biological hardware from a human? Is there a difference?
AI on biological hardware from
I
a
feel like
human.
AI on biological hardware is limiting AIs a lot because that's just optimization. The reason why we use computers, the reason why we use transistors instead of neurons is because transistors are just better optimized for logic. That's
I thought it's because the tubes always leak, and it's kind of messy trying to keep a
you're
chunk
gonna waste time
brain
cleaning all
alive.
that up, right? It's just much more efficient to spend the time in a silicon mine. People mine silicon, right? I have no idea. I've never been to. That's where the minerals. I've bought a lot of sulfur recently, which I'm not gonna use. It was just cheap, and then I realized that it's probably cheap because it's actually really hard to use sulfur for anything useful. I remember you can create living being in the lab. Yeah, it's not that hard. Like living things aren't magic. I really want y'all to understand that. It's not magic. It's matter. It's not witchcraft. It's not like a certain magical molecule you have to add in. No, it's just atoms. Standard good old atoms we have in the everyday world arranged in the same way. I gotta go now too. We'll update in the chat later. Oh, that nabbit. I was actually gonna end the stream and then ask Ali a question. Ali knows what the question will be. Okay, so we have like 5 more minutes or 3 more minutes. I'm losing track.
Yeah.
I'm
Five's
bad at
fine.
this. You think we can figure out how to increase voltage in 3 minutes?
Oh yeah. Increase voltage in what?
Voltage. I have a output of 3 volts on the Raspberry Pi Pico. We need to increase it to 9 would be nice.
So you need an up converter.
Yeah, I have a back down converter, but I think it can be used. I have 7 of those. I think it can be
so
used
those are either boost converters or they go down or they go up.
Oh damn it! Somewhere I read that
right?
you can use step down to increase.
So what you can do is you can literally take a coil of wire, and you can make your own coils and create a little transformer.
Ooh, I actually don't know how.
I mean, if you really want to. Yeah, so you just coil one wire. Let's say if it's 3 volts, let's say it has I don't know, 3 coils, and then the other one you want to have 5 coils. You wire them up counterclockwise to one another, and so one's spinning counterclockwise, one's spinning clockwise, and then put current through one side and not the other side. I think they have to be alternating current. I think you can. What can you do that with DC? I actually don't know that. Can you create a DC transformer with just wires? Question mark. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT 4.0. A DC transformer flows in one direction and does not create a change in magnetic field necessary for the traditional transformer operation. Yeah. So I don't think it will work with DC.
Yeah, so I feel like I have to use capacitors. I know that I know that capacitors can do. Well, there's alternating. Never mind. I think this is DC. I'm pretty certain you can do it with capacitors. I have seen it done somewhere. Oh, well, no. I'm trying to build an ESC. This one I can share. I'm trying to build an ESC, and so basically, I will have 3 output pins, 3 input pins. For the input pins, well, no, 3 output pins. Actually, 3 digital pins, which have an output of 3 volts. And I'm missing. No, never mind. I won't even tap. Just 3 pins. They have input of 3 volts, but in order to actually run the transistor, they need around 9 because I bought way too heavy duty transistors. I overdid it. Orders of magnitude. I like when these transistors can handle. If I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, it was around a couple hundred volts, and
you'd be better off. You'd be better off just stepping down the voltage because you could always use a resistor to lower the voltage, right?
Wait, you know what? I feel like I'm just gonna buy a MOSFET which has lower threshold voltage.
Because, I think that's good. Yeah, it would be difficult. I usually rely on other circuits when it comes to boost converter.
Coils. So when it comes to brushless DC motor, brushless motors don't care about voltage; they care about current, which means that I can just lower the voltage of the battery, and that way the input voltage will be higher than the voltage of the battery. And oh wait, no, actually, I don't know. I have the equations in my notebook. So yeah, I just have to buy different transistors. Low threshold voltage.
That's the easiest. Yeah, that's
also the smartest.
It's so funny that you said this. I had deja vu because there's a friend at the inventor group that I go to that was doing this same thing, and for a second, like I had deja vu. Both of you asked me the same question, and I'm like,
"Is it wow, the phase everyone has to go through?"
Yeah.
Well, and a 2-hour-long lesson, that was a solid. We should do these more often. This is fun. I'm having fun with these.
Yeah, it's like a podcast.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, sweet. Well, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna have to answer this phone call and make sure that there's not any fires to put out.
All right, that's a fair reason. Bye, Tefta.
See ya.
All right, we'll still say I like this new 3D Make It model. You know, it looks. That's a good model. I'm gonna feel bad for replacing it in 10 days, 9 days. I remember noticing a title I saw on my recommendation called "The AI Revolution is Rotten Decor." I have seen that video pop up in my feed. I haven't seen the video itself. It seemed depressing. And I already know enough problems that AIs have. I don't know if I want to know more. I want to sleep at night. I want to have a good night's sleep. Don't want to worry about stuff for no reason. Alright, I'm gonna go. Actually, I'm gonna go buy some transistors for the video. Well, N-channel MOSFET transistors with low threshold voltage to be exact. And I suppose for now that'll be it. 2 hour long actually, that's still one. So, thank you, man. I just because without doing something AI first, we want to reach the point. Actually, I think Cole was joking because Cole said quite literally the opposite of what I was saying, or the transhumanism versus posthumanism. I think that was the bit. Anyhow, for now, that'll be it. Thank you, everyone, so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye.